Friends, and thank you as always for visiting the Legend Sports Universe YouTube channel, Legend Sports Universe, where legends play further. First and most importantly, I hope everyone had a terrific holiday season, and I wish you all nothing but the best in the new year and throughout 2025. I wanted to do a quick video both reviewing 2024 and establishing where the Legend Sports Universe stands now, as well as what my plans are for the Legend Sports Universe moving ahead this year. I did one of these last New Year as well. And while the main projects came to fruition throughout the year, there were some side things I had hoped to start doing on the channel that I wasn't really able to get started. A big reason for that was that after 3 years of working from home every day, in April I was called back to the office 3 days a week. It significantly impeded project work time as I had other things going on as well. My expectation, though, is that I will have more time to do those things this year, really starting in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to revisit a couple of those things that I had originally planned to get going in 2024. But first, I want to talk about the gaming projects themselves. We'll start with the Franchise Stars Football League project I developed from Madden. Year one of the FSFL is in the final week of the regular season, and the playoffs should come in lockstep with the NFL playoffs, which is cool in a way, but also wasn't by design. First season of the FSFL took a long time for me to get through, too long for viewers to really keep interest in, frankly. There was a ton of tinkering and tweaks early on, as by the nature of what I do and the fact that I create all these players and ratings myself with a particular setup in mind that these games aren't really designed for. There's always some adjustments that need to occur as a project develops. I love where this project is now, but it admittedly took too long to get there. There were too many sacks and too many interceptions for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and I rectified that, but it took a while. I've also developed custom playbooks for teams based on game plan data from Action PC Football, a great PC game if you're not familiar with it. I know a lot of the followers of this channel are. But if you haven't checked it out and you're okay with a more or less text sim, get into Action PC, Dave Cook Sports, DKSports.com. There's some really great stuff. But anyway, the limitation that you can only assign one team a custom playbook in a game that's being played out by the CPU in franchise mode in Madden posed some problems because it necessarily created a situation where I was using different formats for teams playing against each other, which is never an ideal situation. So then I developed a system by which I would control the play calls for both teams, and an Excel spreadsheet would select which plays to call. I'd enter them, and voila. And that overall worked well. The playbooks worked great, results were excellent, and teams were utilizing the same formats. But there were three issues with that setup. First, it added 30 to 40 minutes per broadcast. I will never take for granted the time that you all give me, as I recognize a ton of other things out there that you could be watching. So adding that time wasn't great. Also, going to the play call screen really disrupted the broadcast style flow of what I do here with the LSU. My intent is to bring this fantasy world of cross era stars competing on the same playing field through your screen as though it was a real league, real broadcast style, like it was real life. That's the fun of it. And that feel was really hindered by that approach. That approach also required me to handle the kicking game, which frankly I hated. The fun for me is creating these worlds and watching them unfold and bringing my projects to life through the broadcasts. I have no desire to play in any capacity as far as the Legend Sports universe is concerned. Lastly, with controlling both teams in Madden, if you press X to snap the ball and touch nothing else, the game will run the plays itself. But the quarterbacks would never decide to escape pressure or scramble, which for guys like Roger Staubach or Jalen Hurts basically made them not play like themselves. In addition to keeping sack totals, while better than when the project started, a little higher than I wanted. And more importantly, some of the sacks were just terrible to take in bad situations because the quarterbacks weren't rolling out and getting away from pressure or throwing the ball away. And so when I got to the playoffs for the Franchise Stars Baseball League, which I'll get to later, I tabled the FSFL for a bit, while the FSBL broadcasts were going on. And I used that time to run more tests on the stock Madden playbooks to see which may work as options to use for teams when I couldn't assign them a custom playbook. So that knocked the FSFL offline for the better part of 6 weeks. So again, I had all these kind of obstacles that got in the way of this project really flowing the way that I wanted it to. The results have been great since I got back at it. And now the process is generally this: a checklist to see which team uses the custom playbook in a given matchup. Heavy run team, was coached by the 70s or earlier coaches, Madden, Bud Grant, George Allen, etc. They get first crack at using custom playbooks because Madden doesn't really have a heavy ground game playbook. It's focused on modern football, and that just doesn't really exist right now. Next on the checklist is a team playing a 3-4 because the stock 3-4 playbooks in Madden tend to yield a few too many sacks, and I was able to adjust those for custom playbooks to make them work better. A couple of 3-4 stock playbooks are okay and are assigned as needed, like if two teams are playing each other and both use a 3-4. The stock, balanced, run heavy, and run balanced playbooks also yield solid, if imperfect, results for teams who don't use the custom ones each game. Though some of the formations aren't the formations that coaches would really have used. It's imperfect but solid. It just took a ton of time to get to this point. Even so, with time a bit limited, doing multiple broadcasts for each game week and having time to only do one broadcast a day usually, the season has dragged on. Most exciting part now, and it's been a thrilling season. I'm super excited for the playoffs. But 10 months to get through a season is not ideal in terms of getting viewer retention and people to stay along with a project. And I recognize that. I realize people who were excited about this project lost some of that with the time it took to fix initial issues and then really with the layoff mid-season. That's what it is, unfortunately. Hopefully, I can regain those folks with broadcasts happening more regularly and the upcoming playoffs. I'm going to have a choice to make for year two of the FSFL. There's a convenience in terms of stat tracking, contracts, etc. It comes with running the FSFL in franchise mode. It also lets me relocate teams, the Raiders back to Oakland, the Chargers to San Diego, etc. But playing in exhibition mode would let both teams use the custom playbooks as originally intended. Now, if you can explain to me why this issue even exists, other than EA being completely stupid, let me know. But I digress. I would have to track all stats and player moves, etc., manually, but it might be worth the trade off to be able to use the custom playbooks for both teams. So I need to decide how to proceed there. Next, we'll get to the Franchise Stars Baseball League, which is poised for year four. The FSBL had its most thrilling regular season yet in year three, with 5 of the 6 divisions undecided entering the final week of the regular season. The format for the Franchise Stars Baseball League changed this season, as instead of simply broadcasting one game per game week, I changed to doing an AL game of the week and an NL game of the week. It worked out great and definitely helped me feel more in tune with what was happening throughout the league. The viewers seemed to prefer that format as well, even if it made the regular season last a bit longer. San Francisco Giants won their second title in 3 years and remain the class of the league. And this year's rookie class has some huge names coming into the FSBL, including Roberto Clemente, Yogi Berra, Lou Brock, and Grover Cleveland, or Pete Alexander, of the Phillies. My expectation is year four of the FSBL will see first pitch in late January or early February. I'm developing rookie ratings now and have the NL almost complete, so it's getting closer. I've got one more team. I got to do the Giants, and then I'll be on to the American League. My goal, and I've said this from the start of the Legend Sports universe a couple of years ago when I got it going in the midst of COVID and all that stuff, is to have baseball running all year long and then to have the other sports cycle through complementary aside besides baseball. Running all the sports at once is too much. It just bogs everything down. But my intention remains to have the FSBL run all year and then cycle football, basketball, and hockey alongside it. The Franchise Stars Basketball Association project I developed for NBA 2K25 is at the end of November and being led by the Boston Celtics, who got a great draw for year one, even without Larry Bird, and have gone an unfathomable 19-0 to open the season. They've been tested several times, but the Russell Kuzi Havlicek trio has been formidable to say the least, and their depth is just ridiculous. That said, the FSBA project hasn't seemed to draw much interest to this point, and I've admittedly been a little bit lax in posting those broadcasts as I've gotten to the end of the football season. So I'll need to see how that all goes. While I enjoy the project and its concept, and 2K25 does a phenomenal job, this may turn into an offline project if interest doesn't pick up as the season goes on. So we'll see what happens. I need to be careful about spreading myself too thin and hindering the projects that people enjoy most for the sake of projects others may not really be into. That's not saying that I do projects solely for the sake of broadcasting reviews or anything like that. That's not the case. But that's kind of my point. There's no law that says I have to run every project I do online either. I can do stuff that's just for my enjoyment, not necessarily broadcast everything that I'm doing. So I've got to kind of decide how to proceed with that. Um, and as I get more regular with doing the basketball broadcast, and I'm a bit better about that, particularly once the football comes to a close, um, then then we'll have a better idea of people getting, whether people are going to get drawn to that project or not. So the point that I don't have to run everything I do online kind of leads perfectly into announcements of two projects. One that's going to take a bit of time to get running, and the other that will be starting soon. First, and I've been asked about doing this project for a while, so I'm hoping that means it's going to have interest. I will be developing Franchise Stars Hockey League for NHL 25. Format will be the same as the other Legend Sports Universe projects. Each franchise will have a master player pool, probably 60 players. 20 will be randomly chosen for year one. The remainder will join in future drafts. As always, all player ratings will be developed by me, in this case using the historical player generator that I created for NHL 23. I loved my Legend Sports Universe Hockey League project, and I really enjoyed broadcasting hockey. So I look forward to getting back to this. There's no timeline for this project, though. I probably won't even touch player creation until I get the Franchise Stars Baseball League set up for year four. But I'll probably at least build a framework for roster composition and player lists for year one, stuff I can do during downtime at work, honestly, sometime in the next week or two. The project that will be starting soon, and I'm really excited about, is the Legend Sports Universe Boxing Federation, a rebirth of sorts from my old title bout boxing project of the same name. If you've been around the channel for a while, you're aware of my love of boxing. And the greatest single spike in subscribers I've gotten since starting the channel was actually not from the Franchise Stars Baseball League, but was from my ratings development work during the early development of the recently released boxing title Undisputed, when it was still called Esports Boxing Club. When ESBC got delayed, then stalled completely, then pushed back further, my work on the game got tabled as well. Undisputed has since been released. It came out in October. And the work I did way back when on my title bout to Fight Night Champion Conversion project, which evolved into the hypothetical ratings development base for ESBC, have given me a really great foundation to work with in terms of fighter creation. Undisputed is solid, but flawed. Fight Night Champion, while 13 years old, gives you much more control over how a fighter performs. Undisputed's biggest problem is it does not handle defense first fighters well. Puncher accuracy as a whole is too high, which means a defense first fighter, usually someone who lacks power and doesn't inflict a ton of damage, gets put at a huge disadvantage because his defense isn't showcased enough to counter the lack of offensive thump. That said, in certain types of matchups, Undisputed performs very well, and they've gotten the balancing of the four archetypes, for lack of a better term: outboxer, boxer, puncher, swarmer, and slugger. much closer than they did originally when sluggers could basically walk through everybody and swarmers could kind of do the same thing. But sluggers do remain a bit too overpowered, particularly against an outboxer. Outboxers, which is the style that a defensive fighter usually um, is still operating at a bit of a disadvantage against a really offense first fighter. And until that's rectified, I can't go all in on Undisputed for the project. My intention was to create the LSUBF as a hybrid title bout slash undisputed project. For the start, it's going to be a triple format hybrid project using title bout, undisputed, and fight night champion. The FNC bouts will largely be reserved for bouts involving either of two types of fighters: very strong defense first fighters or very high punch output fighters. And put sluggers into that category as well. The LSUBF project will feature a master pool of all historic champions in the major sanctioning bodies. So anybody who is a WBA, WBC, or IBF champion will be in the master pool. The WBO will also be used when a pool needs filling out in a certain weight class. Every lineal champion will be in the pool as well, going way back into the archives, guys like Jack Johnson. The base of the project is in the classic title bout PC game, where each weight class will have a starting pool of 25 random champions for each weight class, and then 50 tomato cans, for lack of a better term, as well. Basically, fodder that help guys establish their records. Each weight class will have a randomly generated schedule to establish these fighters' starting records, from which 8-man title tournaments will be built from the guys who are the top 8 ranked fighters after those bouts. All of that will be done and determined in title bout. All of the tournament bouts, though, will occur in Undisputed or Fight Night. In addition, each game month will have a bout schedule set up in title bout. Matchups either for a title, once the belts are determined, or any matchup between two top 10 ranked fighters will be held in Undisputed or FNC. All other bouts will be simmed in title bout. Additionally, every 3 months of game time, a new champion will enter each weight class's pool. So every weight class will add 4 new fighters per year. Again, we're talking game year, obviously, not calendar year. And those fighters will try to work their way up the rankings. So whole thing is going to have a full career mode aspect to it. Like title bout is set up so that fighters move from beginning career stage to pre-prime to prime to post-prime to end. And there's a little bit of a random aspect to that within reason. So I can kind of run the whole thing as a career franchise setup, which is how, again, if you're familiar with what I do here, is how I like to run all these projects. So I'll create fighters for Undisputed and FNC as I need them. And I'll post creation details as I do. This is a deep history dive, and I know I'm older than a lot of the guys, particularly playing Undisputed, who may know the top guys from history, your immortals, but may not know those second or third tier guys who were excellent fighters, either in lower weight classes that didn't get the same notice, or were guys who were contenders but only held titles for a short while. Everything I do here at the Legend Sports Universe is with a focus on a deep dive into sports history. How many guys playing Undisputed are dying to play with a guy like the Body Snatcher, Mike McCollum? Who knows? But I'll create him, and guys far less prominent as well. I'm really excited for that project, and I hope you are as well. Given how much I love the sport, that boxing hasn't really been a prominent enough feature on the channel, um, you know, is something that I really hope to change in the coming year. As for projects that have been scrapped, I have previously talked about doing soccer and wrestling projects. Those just aren't in the cards, at least for now. FIFA's player creation module has a couple of glaring those that make it impossible to form the project I want to a level I'm pleased with. And the WWE 2K game doesn't really allow for much in the way of creating your own story and promos, etc., which is kind of a necessity to carry out a project like I would envision. So, at least for now, those projects are scrapped. I would like, and this is kind of what I alluded to at the beginning of this little stream here. I would like to do some streams on the craft of creating what I do, ratings mechanisms, formula creation, testing processes, etc. I'm sure a lot of people want to do those things, and it just kind of seems a bit overwhelming to them. I've done this stuff for 25 years at this point, going back to the old Heat game and official rosters for Out of the Park and MVP baseball and uh, pretty much pretty, a ton of the baseball projects. And I've also done stuff again for Madden and MLB The Show and boxing fighter creation and the generator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if I can share anything that helps someone else be able to enjoy their gaming experience, enjoy this hobby more, I'd love to be able to do so. I also hope to do periodic real sports discussions, commentaries, what have you, Hall of Fame debates, stuff like that. So that's tentatively in the cards too. The biggest change, and most of you have likely seen me trend toward this anyway, is a shift toward pre-recording things as opposed to and posting those videos as premieres rather than going live. That's a function of a couple of things. One, because I work nights, the times when I'm most able to record are just not times when most people are available to watch a true live broadcast. And two, though relatedly, there just aren't that many people who come into the lives to the point where I feel I need to focus on planning a schedule around when others will be around to watch. My schedule is such that I'll be able to record stuff like at 7 a.m. So nobody's around to watch a live then. But for me to not use time that works best for me to create content doesn't really make sense. All that does is limit me. So I think I'm hoping that you're going to see a lot more content here on the channel, but a lot more of it is going to be in this pre-recorded posting as premieres kind of thing that I've been moving a little bit more towards. And again, I'm in those chats when those things premiere, so I can discuss with people who are watching them when they premiere, or people can watch them after the fact or whatever. Um, but it puts less of a demand on me to fit a certain schedule. Um, and it's gonna by doing that, it opens up a lot more time for me to create more content here for the channel, which is something that I am looking forward to doing. As for a couple of other things, I had said during 2024 I was going to get stuff going on Twitch. I really haven't used Twitch very much. Um, it doesn't set up like prior to a stream overly well. Like you can't put a description in, so you have to go in after you start it and enter the description, all that stuff, and it just kind of seems a little bit clunky to me. But I also didn't try to do that much with it, so maybe I just have to give it a little bit more of a chance. YouTube is comfortable, and that's where I've done this stuff since the start. So I may delve back into Twitch. What I might actually do is take the basketball project completely onto Twitch because I'm not broadcasting the I don't handle the announcing for the basketball games like I do for the other sports. So I may just go and let those play out on Twitch and start populating the Twitch channel with basketball, and maybe it'll click there. One thing that has become clear on Twitch is older versions of games don't do as well. So like since the Franchise Stars Baseball League is based in MLB The Show 22, and even Madden being based in Madden 24, um, rather than 25, there's not a lot of traffic in those channels. but the NBA project is with 2K25, so that might get a little bit more traction there. So that might be the way I head with that. Um, Other stuff I want to touch on quickly. I do want to write a bit more about the projects and the leagues and what's going on with them. So I'm going to try to post more stuff on Facebook. Facebook is funny because I have the Facebook page. So if you like and go follow that if you haven't as of yet. But I also, because I post in other groups, like I post the same stuff on my page, and then I go and I post it in like digital dice and sports simulations and replays. It doesn't really give people any reason to go and follow my page if I'm posting exactly the same stuff there. So I might start posting like do stories and stat stuff in uh more on the page and just post broadcast info in like the other groups and stuff like that. So that people know when I'm going on by what I post in the other groups, but if they really want to follow what's going on in more detail, stats and that kind of stuff, and stories and whatnot about what's going on in the London Sports Universe, they'll come subscribe to the page. Um, I started a Discord channel in 2024, and that just never really took traction. And part of that was the same reason. I was posting stuff there, but then I was going and posting the exact same stuff in the whatever it's called now, the Field of Dreams, project pages, and in Beatles Eternally's Discord and stuff like that. And but again, a lot of it was there was a lot of crossover of the same people, so it was like, all right, well, we don't have to go into this guy's Discord to look at anything because he's posting the same stuff in other channels. So I was kind of just shooting myself in the foot a little bit there. So I closed the Discord because the Discord didn't really serve any purpose. But I do miss writing. I'm a writer by trade, and that's what I do like to do that. So I want to get back into doing that a bit. Um, I've had a lot of people compliment me on the website, but getting stuff onto the website can just be really tedious. And I like having just kind of a way of doing it quick, screen grabs of stats and results and whatnot. And bang, just go and upload those and get people to be able to look at things and follow things quickly and easily in kind of a single place or two places or whatever, instead of having to like, oh, well, now we got to go to four different places to find out what this guy is doing. Um, so again, I want to kind of try to streamline that kind of stuff and organize that stuff a little bit better. But I want to come in under a half hour in this, so I want to wrap this up. But most importantly, I do want to just kind of say thank you to those of you who have followed the project. And by project, I mean the grand, Lens Sports Universe. Whether you're just following one sport or one part of the LSU, or whether you follow the whole thing. Um, Again, I am greatly appreciative of your time. Again, if you're not familiar, I went to college. I originally intended to do broadcasting while I was going to play baseball, and broadcasting was what I was hoping to do. And for several different reasons, I got hurt, and then I left school for a semester and I transferred. And the place where I transferred to cut their broadcasting program as I transferred there. So I ended up going into journalism instead of broadcasting. Um, and so I got into writing, and broadcasting just kind of went by the wayside. So starting the London Sports Universe kind of rekindled a love of broadcasting for me. Um, so this is kind of my outlet for what I originally wanted to be my career. And I'm 20 plus years down the writing road at this point. Um, but so this kind of gets to be my outlet for that, and you guys have facilitated that and let that happen. So I do very, very much appreciate you guys doing that. Big shout out to the great Al Red Sox fan and Christopher Slovak, who are the first two guys who kind of got me into like, hey, you can actually do this. I think people will be interested in what you're doing. Um, So huge shout outs to them for being the guys who got me started in doing this. I love it, and I will remain greatly appreciative of your time and your consideration and your interest in what I do here. So as always, folks, be good to each other. We will talk soon. A very happy new year to you, and thanks again. And hopefully, I'll see you around the channel soon. Be good, everybody. Take care.